Hello, this is Wesley Henderson, and I'm coming to you from Henderson & Sons Funeral Home in Rome, Georgia. The name of my paper is Understanding the Needs of Grieving Families and How This Affects Our Business. In my paper, I chose to read and write about Christian Crew's article, Utilizing Memorialization to Increase the Lifetime Value of a Customer. In the article, Mr. Cruz recalls a terrible experience about 2 years ago in which he lost his uncle. His uncle was a great man who lived a great life worth honoring, but because the funeral director who met with the family offered no guidance or education on the many different options of memorialization, the family didn't know their choices and simply chose for a direct cremation with a scattering at a later date. In the article, it is evident to see that this decision hindered that family's grieving process. Mr. Cruz states that the lack of information and counseling, coupled with the pressure to make speedy decisions, left the family feeling empty and unsure. This is a feeling that many families experience today in our industry because of this lack of understanding of the lives of the deceased that were lived and the lack of education that funeral directors are giving to these families on all their different forms of memorialization. I found this article to be very insightful into how important memorialization is to the grieving family and how not offering these different forms can be detrimental to that family's healing process. In my own experience, it reminded me of a time when my grandfather passed. We had a very different experience than Mr. Cruz because my family was familiar with the many different forms of memorialization. So we took advantage of these. And we had a 2-day visitation with an evening funeral service. And not just for the family's sake, but for the public's sake. We knew that he had touched so many lives and meant so much to so many folks that we needed to give them a chance to pay their final respects and join us in our mourning. One other part of the visitation that was very important to my family was the image of my grandfather in the casket. This helped make his death a reality, which we know from our studies is very important for the family's grieving process, and I wouldn't trade that for anything. The second images that were brought to mind are my experiences as an apprentice at our funeral firm now. We have already been able to serve many of our competitors' families because they are not offering these different memorial options to the families, and the families feel as if that funeral home is not being sensitive to their needs or to their grieving process. So in my experience, one of the most important things you can do for a family is to educate them on all the different ways they can honor their loved one, because times are changing in our industry, and especially with the rise of cremation, families need to be made aware of all the different forms of memorialization that we offer so that they can choose what's best for their family, their situation, and their grieving needs. And that's what you'll see as we move forward in our industry. The firms that are able to adapt and to do this and to educate their families are going to keep these families for many successive generations to come, while the other firms that are stuck in their antiquated practices of only offering one type of memorialization are going to lose their market share in the business. So I thank you for your time, and that is all I have for you.